Well, hello and a very warm welcome to Business Today TV. I am Chetan Bhutani. Maruti Suzuki has again come out with its stellar set of numbers, and I am joined by Shashank Srivastava, a Senior Executive Officer at Maruti Suzuki. Shashank-san, thank you so much. A stellar quarter one and a reasonably good month of July for the company. Sir, what are you anticipating? Utility vehicle sales up 166%. It's been a record for Maruti, sir. What do you have to say?
Yeah, so it's been actually one of the positive things that emerged in July regarding the UV sales was, of course, the semiconductor crisis, which we were battling, the whole of last couple of years, and Q1 seems to have eased a little bit. And as a result, we could produce some very good numbers for Ertiga and XL6. We could get much better supplies, the Brezza and the Vitara. The Fronx also continues to do well. And those are reflected in the very good growth numbers that you just mentioned. And also in terms of the SUV market itself, we have done, I think we have made good progress towards our stated objective to be the number one manufacturer of SUVs. In fact, for the month of July, we were the number one SUV in terms of the sales. We did about 42,600 units against the next biggest player. That was around 36,000 units.
Right. Also, Shashank-san, if I may ask, sir, we also saw the compact car sales down by about 20% and the mini car sales nearly down by 52%. So where is the Aam Aadmi going to buy the car, sir? Not everyone can afford an SUV, where the trend is going. But yes, so where is the Aam Aadmi going then, sir?
Yeah, so I think you would see that segment still, by the way, Chetan remains pretty strong. Even though in terms of the share of the market, it has come down to about 31% in this year, April to July, against last year of 34%. Whereas the SUV has gone up from about 43% last year to almost 47-48% this year. So the trend in terms of body types of segments is clearly in favor of SUV, but the small car is also substantially big. 31% is pretty big, and last year we did see a good growth of almost 20% in this segment. But from the peaks when you compare, which was in 2017-18 to in 2018-19 numbers, there is a decline. I agree. And as to when will this segment people will come back and start buying into these cars, I think it all depends on how the economy grows and how the income level of the people in this segment grows. I think in the last few years, we have seen the affordability factor coming down. In other words, the prices in this segment gone up significantly compared with the increase in the income levels. And this segment is very price sensitive. The elasticity of demand is pretty high. That's why we saw a decline. And once we see an improvement in the area of affordability, then obviously, we expect this segment to remain large. And in fact, with our market share of 70% in this segment, it is a very crucial segment to us as a company and our overall objective to get to 50% market share.
So, is it bothering you about the plunge in mini cars and small compact vehicles sales being plunging? Although SUVs on the revival of Maruti and record numbers have come, but yes, does a decline in sales worry Maruti Suzuki?
I wouldn't say worry, but yes, if you look at the overall market construct, while still the segment is large, 13,40,000 vehicles were sold last year in the small car segment, which is a pretty large segment. And it becomes important to us more so because we have a 70% share in that segment. So from that perspective, this segment, both in terms of volume and the market share, is very important. That's the reason why we want to continue to consolidate in this segment while we get into the new segments like the SUVs, where admittedly we have been weak historically. But now with these four models, I'm happy to say that we could achieve almost 25% share in July in the SUV segment as well. So yes, I would say it's like you have to devise a strategy according to the market movements.
Sir, also I'd like to ask you, when I asked you about the Aam Aadmi question, I also mean to understand from you, is the rural India, rural Bharat consumer pushing the purchase to a later date when the vehicles become more affordable, or the trend would be like this?
Yeah, so I think there are a couple of things which are happening, and it's not just one trend that we can talk of. In terms of the body shape preference, yes, it seems to be a general trend towards the more SUV, strongish, upright driving stance type of vehicle with high ground clearance, which is what the SUV offers. So that trend is body type preference trend is there. On the other hand, you also see the trend in terms of the income levels going up in the rural areas. So, combined with that, you would see the rural growth, for example, in our opinion, should continue to be robust. If you look at, for example, April to July period, the growth in the rural areas has been about 12%. In the urban areas, it is 8.6%, and combined, it's about 10.3%. So still rural growth outpacing the urban growth. In rural, actually, in the month of July, for example, the growth was 18.6% against 14.2% growth for the urban area. So the preferences obviously will depend on how the economy in the rural areas work. There seems to be a lot of positives which we observe, but of course, we'll have to wait and see how it pans out.
Sir, the company has, of course, now become the leader in the 10 to 20 lakh crucial segment. With the Invicto coming in, how soon would you be able to capture a significant portion of the 20 to 30%, the second hottest probably segment for the SUV?
So the 20 to 30 lakh segment which you are referring to, where the Invicto is playing, is roughly around 4.5% of the overall market. So it's still a small market, but it has been growing. In just a couple of years back, it was about 2% or slightly less than 2% of the overall market. So yes, there is a substantial jump in that segment, although in absolute volume terms, it may not be large at the moment. But the Invicto that you mentioned, we have about 10,000 bookings now of the Invicto, and it's really about how quickly we can supply these vehicles if we have to garner the extra market from there. First month we just could do about 500 vehicles because that was the total supply available. So if you do that rough calculation, it seems to be a pretty big and long waiting period. However, we are, discussing with Toyota on how to get more Invicto so that we can get not only good volumes there, but also reduce the waiting periods.
Sir, also, I think we spoke about this last time as well. Then you already have about 3.5 lakh car bookings at your back right now. People have started shifting from, people might shift from Innova to Invicto because, the waiting time for Innova is huge, like 2, 3 years, you don't get the vehicle. People would probably want to buy the Invicto because they feel that Maruti could deliver it earlier. But if the same situation persists with Maruti also, where would the consumers go? So, what is the plan of action when it comes to solving this problem of delivering vehicles on time, especially the Invicto, sir?
So clearly, it all depends on the production levels, and obviously, one of the obvious steps is how to increase the production combined of the high cross and the Invicto. That is, I won't say no brainer, but it's obvious that we would like to increase the production. But then it's not always easy to increase production in a short span of time. So we will have to wait and see how to overcome this problem, try to increase the volume levels and within the available volume levels, how much we can get the Invicto to get to those numbers that we are targeting.
Okay. And does it concern you by any chance about the rising number of bookings? Yes, it's a good news, of course, but does it concern you that it might further add a backlog of nearly 4.5, 5 lakh cars very soon, and you will not be able to deal with the situation later on?
So actually, this pending bookings which you are referring to, right now it's about 3.35 lakh. At the end of July. That has been the result of a cumulative building up over the last 2 years because of various reasons, the COVID supply situation and later on the semiconductor issue. That issue seems to be getting better now in the sense that July production was more like near normal. Although in Q1 we lost about 28,000 cars because of the semiconductor issue. But going forward, I think it's going to get better. and we see a much more normal production, and therefore this pending bookings and the waiting period should come down. And that has been, the effect over the last 2 years of mismatch production, where the vehicles which were in demand we could not produce because of the component issue, and the vehicles which had lesser demand we could produce in excess. And that also is reflected, therefore, in what I call tale of two cities, where one set of models have long waiting periods, whereas other set of models have discounts going for those models.
Sure. And last question, sir. I think one area is one such where Maruti is becoming very strong, and I think you're the market leader there, but it's not being highlighted much. Is the CNG space, sir? You're, I think, the market leader, if I'm not mistaken. So, what is the plan for CNG, sir? Aggressive marketing and good discounts on vehicles is a possibility in the near future in order to push for more sales for CNG. What are the numbers saying, sir?
So CNG numbers actually have been pretty robust. Just a car, 2.5, 3 years back, we were doing about 106,000 was the sale. It jumped up to about 2.2, 2.3, and then further to last year to 3.28 or 3.3 lakhs. And this year expected to go up to 4.5 to 4.75 lakh. So there is a substantial increase, and the penetration of CNG now in Maruti Suzuki's portfolio, if you see, this year is about 26%, which is much higher than what it used to be earlier. And yes, you are right, we are market leaders, and by far we have about 80% share in this segment. So it's like a really large share that we have. And we do believe that it's a very good option for the consumers, both from the perspective of emission, and also from the running cost perspective, where the CNG price is much below the gasoline and diesel prices, giving a very good fuel efficiency, very easy on the environment, and therefore it's a great option. And Maruti Suzuki has, out of its 17 models, 15 of them now have CNG. So I think it's a very good option, and we'll pursue that in the future as well.
Sir, also one last thing that was concerning me was the fact that the company did a second or a third recall of about 89,000 odd vehicles recently announced, sir. Sir, what is the reason behind such a big recall, sir, and why is it happening so frequently?
Actually, if you see, the recalls are not really frequently, but actually the new regulations have defined what a recall is, under what circumstances you call it a recall. And it's actually, to my mind, a great regulation, because it forces all the OEMs, even if there are few some complaints or some defined parameters, then you have to call for you have to do a recall. And it's the number of recalls, therefore, not necessarily a sign, a negative sign, because it does mean that even on the suspicion that there could be a problem in the car, the manufacturer is actually asking the consumers that, hold on, we are going to check the vehicle and going to replace the defective part if there is a problem. So in that sense, consumers can actually be more confident that the regulations are protecting them. And in case there is a defect which is found even at a later stage, the manufacturers will have to do the recall.
All right, so well, wishing you all the best, sir, for the upcoming numbers for the month of August, sir, and looking forward to meet you again, sir.
Thank you very much.
If you like the video, do like, comment, share, and subscribe.